Hi guys, welcome to my channel. First time viewers always welcome. In this video I'll be discussing some ergonomic improvements in handling with the 1911 Academia. So what I have here is a 1911. It's been featured in a lot of my other videos. So I have a video on how to improve the trigger pull that you might want to check out, but this is something that came much later than that. So when this gun came out, they were using the convulsive grip technique, which meant that you had to have fingers that did a little bit more than just hold a gun. They helped the alignment when you would pick it up and squeeze it. You know, it would be centered in your hand. So when you would grab it, you know, eventually you'd train or get used to. I don't know if train's an actual word that you want to use nowadays. People get a little freaked out when people practice. So when you grip this thing, it's supposed to align centered to your wrist, responsive to your index finger and your thumb. So these guys, this guy and that guy, are crucial to make that happen. So when you would pick this thing up, set her down, then you pick her up, it would be reasonably straight, if not straight. The more you practice, the better you'll get it. And then they'd have a small trigger, so you squeeze it like a lemon. And so when you would grab it, boom, but you'd bring it up to your dominant eye. And that's pretty much how it went. And then eventually triggers got a little bit longer for comfort. So you would pick a trigger that would fit right in that inside finger pit, if you will, to the first digit knuckle. But when you do that, what can happen is the corners of the trigger shoe can kind of interfere with your journey across the trigger shoe. And they would have like lines on there and checkering, which is incredibly annoying because that's not how the 1911 trigger was initially supposed to be set up. So the other side of my finger doesn't hit the extended corner interfering with my pull. So when I pull this guy, it fits right into that digit pit right there, that first digit, which is what you like, you know, typically when you pleasure shoot. So that's that. And then of course you're going to get recoil. So a lot of times on the front strap, they try to put an aggregating surface, but that can interfere when you grab your gun, because if it goes like this, you're not centered. So you want your fingers to slide a little bit. This one, not so much this guy. This guy will find his way. But primarily the grip is going to be these two fingers, this thumb and this index finger. So a lot of times on these guns, they like to undercut here to free up that long finger. But if it's checkered all the way up and you do that, you're going to have that internal wag that happens. So if you're right-handed, shots go to the left. If you're left-handed, they go to the right. Because it's not going to center in your hand in a panic situation. Unless, of course, you practice. You're going to have to practice a lot, because if you grab some gloves and try to pick one of these up and it's really rough here, guess what? It's going to move to the left. Same thing with checkered finger pads and trigger shoes. So it's kind of a bad idea to have them that way, in my opinion. So what I've done is I've partially checkered the front strap. So these two guys can slide, and then these guys here, they get a little bit of the rigid surface, but they're aligned so it slides right over it. So if the gun were to buck from recoil, I'd still have a pretty tight hold. You know, so I could have that convulsive grip advantage, and I could also have that recoil control that checkering in a rough front strap would give you. So to make that happen, you need a fixture. It's called a checkering fixture. Take your grips off. And sits in there like that. And then you put that through the open hole of the frame and you tighten her down. And then you track the file this way to make the line going that way. Track it that way and you end up with diamonds. So when you do this, you want to start in the middle of the strap. So, and you don't want to go deep. So you make your lines, you know, starting from the front, go about halfway, and then trail them out how far you want them. I wouldn't go to the ends of the frame because then it starts acting like a file and it ruins belts, holsters, and clothing. It starts to snag. So what I like to do is I like to keep it kind of centered in the middle where it doesn't come over to the side. So you get your structural integrity if you choose a file that's too aggressive. And typically you want to use 30 lines per inch. This one was 20. So this one's pretty aggressive. And it does take an awful lot of material off from that front strap. Let's see if we can see it a little bit better. There we go. So you can actually over penetrate if it's thin. This one's pretty thin. So you want to be careful so you don't go through. But that's why you don't want to go all the way down to the bottom. When you feed these magazines into the 1911, it just hits like right there. So that first part leads in, you know, this part right here. So you're pretty much free from like here to about here because these things totter in the mag well, usually. They're pretty loose. And so you don't want to create like a wear spot like on the back of checkering, just in case you over penetrate. I took a risk with this one. I went 20 lines per inch. And this is what a 20 line per inch file looked like. It's got little teeth on there. So when you use these guys, you file both ways and you try to stay on track so you don't cross over your line. So you're making lines, you start in the center of the hump of the strap, and then you just go across, drag. So you're tracking back in those same lines, going back and forth against your fixture. You want to go about like halfway. Don't go any more until all your lines are established. And then you move your lines from the center outward. And then when you're comfortable with, you know, where it looks, you're just going to keep going over your lines from the center out, and you're going to deepen them. So if you made some mistakes, when you go deeper, it's going to correct some of that. So it's going to iron out. You're going to end up with a pretty nice looking texture on there that help you with your recoil. Give you a little bit of an idea, because, you know, my gun's got like Duracoat on it. Here are some cheap needle-nose pliers. And so I used that same checkering file on here. You can tell, now this was smooth. I put those teeth on there. That's 20 lines per inch. It's pretty aggressive. And then on the other side, I went front back. So I made splines. I don't know if you can see that. There we go. So what happens is I've got lines that cross. So when I'm doing electrical work, I can pull the wires a little easier than if they were smooth. Then I also knock the corners off so they wouldn't cut the insulation at the end of the lines. So that's what a checkering file does, and it makes lines. And this is what it would ordinarily look like on this mag release, when you have diamonds or checkering. But those are lines. So yeah, if they weren't lines and they're going in the direction of my fingers, so my fingers slide over them real easy. If it was like that, it's not so easy to slide across from a diamond pattern or checker patterning surface, which is why I do not prefer checkers or diamonds on my front strap of my firearms. I kind of like them to have, horizontal lines. Vertical line, well, that won't do you much good, because the gun jumps, it pushes you back, not side to side, hardly. So why would you have vertical lines on the front strap? Seems, having horizontal, if it was going to jump back at you, would be better. And so that's the purpose of this video, to introduce the convulsive grip with also enhanced grip features of checkering without getting into the hindrances of having a too aggressive surface that your fingers catch before it's time to grip your gun in the convulsive grip technique. So I hope you like this video, and don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss out on this content. Some of it's quite unusual. It'll make your 1911 experience so much more enjoyable. And you're going to want to see everything I have to offer. So I will catch you in my next video, and have a good day.